Well, Deesby's GP is out of the way, and I have to say it went a lot better than I expected it was going to. A massive thank you to Mostly Wanted for updating the track prior to the event. I presume you did that with a broken controller, so yeah, thank you. As a creator, you really don't have to update the tracks just for this series, but everybody really appreciates it when you do, so yeah, we vote for these tracks as they are, so any improvements to them are just a bonus. Thank you so much, Mostly Wanted, for doing that, and I hope to see you back in Division 3 this Sunday. I've spoken enough about Neo already, so purple points. Neo and Frinker, the Swiss and French connection, just a little bit too OP for us this week, I think. A bit of an underrated performance from Headshot. He kind of got sidetracked by that opening crash, and he still managed to end up on the podium. So really good drive for Headshot. G-Gamer, an exceptional performance. I think he started second and he finished second, so it's kind of to be expected. But he, UFO driver started on first and he fell down to fifth. So still an impressive performance from G-Gamer to pull out second. An even more impressive performance probably came from Mini Temper, who was driving for Ryan. I bet Ryan was half praying not to get relegated, and here he is in fourth. What a great result for Ryan in general, all thanks to Mini Temper, who started last? No, nearest to last. I believe he started in front of Neo Dark Shadow. So, but he was one of the fortunate ones. He was able to skip right through at the start. Now, the rest of us, from me downwards, what on earth happened at the start? Oh my lord. I don't want to remember it. Let's just hope that it doesn't happen again. There was lag, there was pushing and shoving. It was brutal. And I somehow ended up on the worst end of it once again. So I'm really happy with my performance ending up in 6th. And congrats to everyone else who managed to scrape their way back out of the relegation zone after that one. Skrazor was right at the bottom with me, and the pair of us managed to pass the others on track, so that's great stuff. Mo Youngstar put in a great performance for Picano as well. And now we get to the dark side. Another penalty this week. I hate handing out penalties, I really do. But it was 5 seconds. It was 5 seconds for Shawnell for just a laggy pass on UFO driver that he didn't wait for. He basically used UFO driver as the corner. So nothing too serious, but he didn't wait, so that was a 5-second penalty. But then I just received footage of the incident that happened to the 3 wide battle in the Blister Compacts right behind me on the penultimate lap. I was too busy trying to hang on to 5th or 6th or wherever the hell I was. I'd already lost to UFO driver, so I was raging. But the three behind me, Sean accidentally nudged Awez as Awez was letting off the throttle, which ended up absolutely crushing Mo Youngstar into the wall, who flipped upside down onto his roof. And although it wasn't even Awez's fault because he was, I think, lag rammed by Sean, it was another lag incident. For some reason, Scotland just was not on form with its connection on Sunday. And in the end, Awez almost got himself relegated, having to wait for something which completely wasn't his fault. And I'm sure that Sean had no idea that he'd even done it. But, just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen, unfortunately. And this has had severe consequences for Sean L13's position, because the 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers behind him were all within 10 seconds of him crossing the line. And Sean L has dropped right into the relegation zone, losing out 5 points in the process. And I've got no choice but to send Sean L down to Division 2. So I'm really sorry to say that it's ended up that way. But yeah, he's been Rezodkiefed, unfortunately. Let's hope that Sean can get back into Division 1 with a less lag-related performance next week. Other results saw Jerome get Crow Gamer relegated. Macy somehow jumped out of his car, and then his car proceeded to explode. Chris D didn't show up, and Nima, of course, disconnected, which is going to have fatal consequences for yet another driver. So let's move on to that driver in Division 2. I am a sick, twisted, and unfortunately amnesic individual. I was even spurring Mini Temper on. I was like, you've come from the back. You can do it. The top 5 are going through. And then just as he crossed the line, it hit me. Nima disconnected, didn't he? So there's only 4 going through. And I just dropped the bomb on him during the results screen after he was so happy. You should have heard him. He just walked away. He walked away from the PS4. Mo was pissing himself. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, Mini Temper. It was hilarious at the time, but highly thoughtless and insensitive. So I'm very sorry about not warning everybody before the start of the race that there were only 4 available promotions, which Charles the King, Razodkeef, Dr. Peppers, and Paul Sitter, Nus Nus Manel were able to take. I do tend to talk about Razodkeef quite a lot, but once again, the man started in 15th place and proved me horribly wrong. I said nobody from the back would be coming in the top 5. Neo came from the back to get first, and Razodkeef came from the back to get second. So if there's no, you don't need any more proof to outline why Razodkeef is a true Division 1 driver. He belongs there each and every week. And that's kind of why it's a shame to see a driver like him fall into Division 2, because he can pull off performances like that on a compact track, and he's done very well to get himself back in. He's probably scored more points in Division 2 than he would have in Division 1. Razodkeef. Speaking of Division 1 drivers, Chris D22 awoke from his slumber and was like, oh shit, yeah, that race I'm supposed to be in. But he missed the first one, so I had to let him drive in Division 2. But he failed to get himself back into Division 1, so he's automatically relegated, although he will pick up his 11 points. So that's the equivalent of him having positioned 13th in Division 1, really. So, yeah, Chris D hasn't really gained there, and he's been relegated. More Youngstar, Oracle, Gaming Easter Egg, Digster Pop, and who was driving for Jakey? Who was driving for Jakey? Was it Iggy? I think it was Iggy. And Iggy probably thought that he'd gotten Jakey relegated, but with Chris D being in the mix, there were 16 drivers. So Most C Wanted, who you can see in my extra comments section there as also relegated, is actually the 5th relegation. So Iggy, you've done a fine job. Jakey survives Division 2, and he'll continue to be there next week. The battle for 7th, 8th and 9th was absolutely ludicrous. Go and watch that on Digster Pop's channel, because that was awesome. I didn't think the Blisters could pull off such great racing, but apparently they can. Lastly, we have the trio of Bad Habatnik, Roman and Dawson, who represent the classic case of finding out how bloody hard it is to come to Division 2 from Division 3 and just get knocked back down straight away. Bad Habatnik started 3rd, Roman won the previous Division 3 race to get here, and they've both just gone straight back down despite their advantageous starting positions. So for anyone that's joining this week, LGE, BC Eagles guy, and Dodger, I think they're coming up next week actually. But just get a little bit of practice in, because if you do make it through to Division 2, it just steps up to the next level. That's really the level of competition we have here. So yes, in closing, the Blister is a terrible car, I know, but the wheel decided, and the wheel has a plan for all of us. And Charles the King, one final congratulations to you, and thank you to the rest of you for making that such a great race to watch in such a understeery car to drive. Oh god, you cheers here. Oh god, he won it, so he's in Division 2. Oh god, he'll be starting at the front because he's got no points. Oh god, that means he'll be in Division 1 by the next week. Were the thoughts of everybody as soon as the alright guys hit the lobby in Division 3 this week. Still an impressive performance, and he was nothing as everybody makes him out to be. Yuchia had a fantastically clean race, neck and neck with Whitey White for pretty much the entire race. Yuchia managed to stretch out a bit of a lead towards the end, and Whitey had to come in and make his final pit stop. That allowed Mike BWFC, who pitted really early, to clutch second from the Steak Sauce, who was representing Weimarodko, putting in the fastest lap whilst he was at it. And newcomer, well, relative newcomer, Got You Itch, did manage to get promoted this week. So it's great to see him get out of his usual position of ninth to get into Division 2. So I really hope he is able to find his feet there, given what we've just seen happen to the other Division 3 drivers in Division 2. And Whitey always is a bit hit and miss, really. He sometimes gets stuck in Division 3 and sometimes he's fighting in Division 2, so he's back and forth between both divisions at this stage. Poor Dylan. Dylan holds himself accountable for all of his bad driving. He was apologising to me profusely via personal message after the race for his bad driving, for accidentally colliding with other people and saying that he doesn't deserve to be here. But absolutely not the case, Dylan. You're a Division 2 driver, in my opinion. You just had a bad race. Just get your head on next week and find that promotion into Division 2. Jim Bob was a lot more competitive when he was driving in this race than in the previous race when he was representing Racing Benji. He had some nice battles, I think, Jim Bob. But unfortunately it wasn't enough because the competition was so strong with Steak Sauce, Mike and Yuchia being here this week, as made very audible by Guzman Mestre, who said he'd practiced a lot and that he couldn't believe the speed of these guys this week. Well, Guzman, this is Yuchia, Mike, and the Steak Sauce. They're not really Division 3 drivers, but I'm sorry that your return was spoiled by their arrival. In other news, XR Cool came 8th again. I think he had someone driving for him, though. It was VXWK. He's scheduled to show up either next Sunday or the Sunday after, but he's kept XR Cool in the game, so thank you to VXWK. Golub did well to hang on, and Jim Bob's friend Frezzies hung on to the 10th position thanks to a very generous Iggy, who just wants to take a break. So he was actually 10th, Iggy, but he just pulled over to the side at the very end, allowing Frezzies to come through and stay in the competition. So yes, very generous Iggy. You've done your part for Jakey, keeping him in Division 2, and I'll see you when your name comes to the top of the list once again. The same for Guzman, Aishan, and Anthony. J-Beast disconnected, so he'll get his shot next week. That's pretty much it for Division 3. On to the standings. Now, my maths should be fine this week, but please just check it, just in case. I have made one or two crucial mistakes with Headshot and Razodkiev's points in the last 2 weeks, but I'm fairly confident that everyone else is in order. So, Frinker shoots away from his closest competition, while Razodkiev gets the jump on a Wes despite being in Division 2. I pull away from Sean L after his relegation, but judging by the points that everyone else seems to get in Division 2, he'll probably skyrocket past me with a great result in Division 2 to get back into bloody Division 1, and I'll probably get jumped in the process. But I like how that works. I like that you have the opportunity to succeed in your failures in this setup. On the other hand, Mini Temper has pointed out, a very obvious flaw. You can get trapped in Division 2. If you were contending extremely well, as Mini Temper, or I should say the people who drove for Mini Temper were, before Mini Temper fell to Division 2, then he has to start right at the back because he has a high number of points. And this can sometimes make it difficult, especially with disconnections, to get into Division 1 again. And you can kind of find yourself in a vicious circle of having loads of points and starting last, but not quite being able to get into 5th, or in this case 4th was required. I don't know if I'm going to change that for next season or not. I kind of like the fact that you can be trapped in Division 2, as sick and twisted as that might sound, but we've already been down that avenue in this rambling recap, and it kind of appeals to me. So I think you have to really prove yourself if you want to get back into Division 1. Obviously, this really puts you at a disadvantage with your previous competitors, but the idea is that Division 2 is supposed to be, a skill level below your usual competition, so you have a higher opportunity, a greater opportunity of scoring higher points. So let's hope that Mini Temper's able to come from the back with Charnel in this Division 2 race and reassert themselves as permanent Division 1 drivers. Regarding new drivers coming in, such as Yuchia and Mike, who are obviously really fast, everybody knows that from other competitions. But you know, let's consider Children of the Mountain a new and separate entity. You have to start at the bottom and make your way up, and that could be a skilled driver coming from the bottom who gets essentially the fast track to Division 1 by starting first until they get there. But then they'll soon have to contend with the top of the class that we have here, and that could see them just as easily get sent back down to Division 2 again. So it's a good chance for them to make a solid 55 points, you know, like 25 for winning Division 3, 30 for winning Division 2. They can come in and cinch 55 points straight away, but you know, they still have to work to do that. There has been a new system proposed to me. I'll have to double check it and read it again for next season. But I don't mind skilled drivers coming in later in the competition and having that advantage to quickly get into Division 1, you know, where they belong, if that's how fast they are. But it's just that it does add to this Division 2 trap, where Division 1 drivers start at the back of a Division 2 race, while skilled newcomers like Yuchia start at the front of a Division 2 race. And that's the scene we're going to see this Sunday. Yuchia has a much higher likelihood of going through to Division 1 than Mini Temper and Charnel do. So it's something that needs reviewing, but at the moment I'm not too sure whether I'm going to change it or not. We'll see. Leave your opinions about that in the comments section below if you've even managed to make it this far through the ramble. My quick solution would be to start Division 2 in the order of points that you have. Then it's simply the case of, are you faster than the person in front of you? Yes or no? And if you fall from Division 1 into Division 2, then you'll probably be starting on pole or in the top 3. And if someone is really out there who wants to beat you, then they will have to work to do it. And it's kind of like climbing the mountain in that respect. I'll continue to host Division 1 with reverse points order though. So what do you think about lining Division 2 up like Division 3 in points order? Perhaps that would be the solution to the Division 2 trap. Anyway, too many serious questions. COTM is in full force. There's videos all over YouTube if you want to catch up with the action, and I am loving every second of this competition. Everyone that's participating is just making it great. Let's try and keep discussions about penalties to a minimum, and just try to have fun with the races. That's what I'm here for, and I'm certainly having it, despite being caught up in the most ridiculous of incidents at the start of last Sunday's race. But I still enjoyed the challenge of trying to fight back through the pack. So until next time, guys, this has been the Rambling Recap. I've been Cyrus, and I will see you in the next one.